Hi, ma'am. Am I audible?
Hey, yeah, you're audible.
Sorry, ma'am. There was an internal problem, so we couldn't able to rectify. Sorry for that.
No, no, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Let's start. Hey, folks. Today we are
Okay,
back with another session, and we are having our expert speaker Shreya Bahukhandi with us. She is also a global expert in blockchain technology and blockchain development. Today we are going to explore how blockchain technology is changing the way we work and its benefits. Stay focused during the session and feel to drop your doubts in the comment section. So let's start our session with our experienced speaker. The stage is yours, ma'am. You can take care.
okay,
Standard
thank you so
backstage,
much.
ma'am. We will help you.
Sure, all right,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. So first and foremost, like, hi everybody, and it's so nice to see that there are so many people that want to kind of be a part of this space now. And for me, I'm just gonna give a little brief about myself. So my name is Bahu. I adopted this name when I first got into Web3 about 2.5 years ago. As of now, I'm a blockchain developer and I'm also a consultant for blockchain solutions as well as cryptocurrencies and other digital assets. A little bit about me, I actually used to work for Google, but I left my job at Google as a full stack developer to become a blockchain developer. It was a very funny time for me because there was a time that my parents would actually say that, oh, she left her job at Google to make fake money. And yeah, it was a very thrilling ride for me to actually transition from a Web 2 dev to a Web 3 dev. But till date, I have no regrets about it because it's been one of the best decisions of my life. And I'm glad that I went forward with it to such an extent that as of today, I work for Solana as a tutor where we try to teach people how to get into Solana development while learning Rust and Anchor framework so that they can help build the community. And apart from that, I actually started my career in Web3 by flipping NFTs, making ERC contracts for NFT projects, for native tokens and other projects and things like that. I've worked on more than 30 projects over the last few years. And for me, it's just very important that that we try to onboard as many people onto Web3 as we can, because it's a space that has an insane amount of opportunity, and apart from just opportunity, it also has you know a lot of scalability that it allows, because it's a very new space, and everything that we work on now is what is going to become of the technology tomorrow. So, a little bit about the blockchain that I'm going to be, sort of just like going through with everyone is like, I hope that everyone can hear me, and I just request everyone to just be, as interactive as you can be, so that I can also feel that I'm actually speaking to people and, not just to myself. So, how many people over here have actually heard of blockchain technology apart from just stuff that's gone viral, like, Justin Bieber buying an NFT or the Bored Ape Yacht Club or something like that? Right. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to present my screen, and then we can sort of go through a slide of mine so that we can understand like how we can and how we can understand blockchain technology better. Okay, so I'm just going to present my screen if that's all right, Gautam.
Yeah, ma'am. It's fine.
So I don't really know how many people are on the.
So actually, up to 30 is in live. So 30 is in
Oh,
live.
oh, lovely. That's so lovely. So that's on
Yeah.
YouTube,
So
right?
okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I hope we can see the comments over there as well, so that we can, you know, sort of continue. Right. So I think I already discussed like points about me and what my specialization is. It's basically in two languages, it's in Solidity and Rust. And when it comes to Rust, I mainly work on the Anchor framework, which helps with Solana development. And one more thing about me that's not in Web3 is that I really love animals. So when I'm not, working on blockchain tech, trying to get people onboarded, when I'm not in, a metaverse, just making friends or playing Uno with my friends or something like that, I try to take care of the many dogs that are at my house. I have about 20 dogs at home. So yeah. Now, we're just gonna go through like our learning checklist for today, which is basically the purpose of what we are doing here. The world of cryptocurrency, real world value, and utility of digital assets. Why Web 3.0 is so important, and also creating an alpha environment and attitude, and why it's so necessary for being a part of Web 3. So I just have like a bunch of words that are on the screen right now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of most of them. It's like cryptocurrency and blockchain, decentralization, and feel free if you have like heard of any of them, you can just let me know. You can unmute your mic and let me know.
We probably hear about blockchain and Bitcoin.
Yeah, NFT is a very common name word right now. I think it's very trendy, right? And then we've all heard of like mining, Bitcoin mining, and stuff like that. Cryptocurrency, again, very, very common. Then bear and bull market, we all must have heard of. Metaverse, again, pretty common, we all must have heard of. So, right, moving on, we'll cover all of these in the main listing. So, these are some points that I like to discuss with most developers when they first ask me like, why should we migrate to Web3? Because as it just so happens, Web2 developer jobs are pretty good, and they pay pretty well. They have really good benefits, they have flexible work hours. But the thing about Web3 jobs is there is a little bit of edge when it comes to those benefits, where first and foremost, scalability that I talked about. There is so much opportunity when it comes to this place. I actually know someone who works in a Tim Hortons in the Decentraland metaverse. So he's an employee in the team Tim Hortons, like he sells coffee inside a metaverse. That's his job profile. And Web3 happens to be such a space that you can actually make up any job that you want and, you know, um, go forward with it. Then, apart from that, of course, salary packages are much, much higher. The basic salary package of a Web3 developer would start somewhere between $80,000, and it can go up to almost $200,000. Then you have very intensive job roles where most of the times you'll be a part of a startup, which is why you'll have smaller teams that'll be working. So you'll have a very well-rounded job role where you won't just be doing one thing like just coding. You'll also be part of the business development. You might also might be part of the the promotions, the ad campaigns and stuff that go on. So that's just something I feel that is necessary if tomorrow someday you want to start your own business. Um, a space like this really helps you kind of brush up on everything to try to understand how tomorrow, if you were in that position, how would you be leading such a space. Then apart from that, community, of course, community is a big advantage of Web3 because community is not just your consumers. Community is also somewhere you go where you also connect with the people much more than you would. And the best part about this is because all of it is completely online, you will see people like that are like 16-year-old kids being friends with 40-year-old people from across the world. In the same community, you'll have people from Jamaica, from US, Europe, from from India, from all parts of Asia. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because it's very rare to find. If tomorrow you were to go into an office and work, how often would you come across such a diverse crowd, right? But when you're part of a community, you're going to have the diversity all around you. And you're going to also have the opportunity to be able to interact with all of these people, ask your questions, understand how one person can benefit from one another. Now, one little example that I'll give you of that is that tomorrow, let's say that you have a project and you need to, raise capital for it. So, what all do you actually need? What kind of people do you actually need to gather in your team if you want to raise capital? And there are no wrong answers, so please feel free to just answer anything at all. Right. So, goes without saying, of course, if it is a Web3 project, you might need a developer team. So that can include backend developers, UI UX designers, front end developers, integrations, full stack, just almost anything that can help with the development side of it. Then, apart from that, you will also have the PR side or the talent scout. Apart from that, you also need to have your investors, your VCs, the people who are going to be funding your project. Then you should also understand this, that most of the times when you have good capital funding and stuff like that from good VCs, they also provide with networking, and networking is very important in our daily life. So a community can actually offer almost everything to you sitting exactly where you are in your house. Then another big thing that I like about Web3 is that you have first movers advantage. We actually don't have too many people who are a part of this community right now, which is why the demand for developers is much much higher. The demand for investors, the demand for talent is much much higher. People are looking for just almost any and every skill to try to understand how they can incorporate this into the space, and at the same time benefit not just their community but also their team, also people that will be part of their community, and in totality the space itself, the Web 3.0 space itself. So first movers advantage would basically be that because the demand is so high and there aren't too many developers that are doing this, you will actually have so many job roles that you can apply for. And apart from just apply for, most of the jobs in Web3 may or may not be full time, which means that you can actually work on multiple projects at the same time while sitting exactly where you are from your laptop. Then my last and favorite point is actually that who wouldn't want to be a part of the future? Now this is something that we have all discussed about how Web 3.0 is supposed to be the next layer of the web, right? So how exactly is it the future? Now we'll talk about how Web 3 is something that has brought a lot of technology and a lot of solutions to previous mitigated technologies. So let's move on and actually see, like, what all is them. So some of the perks that we were discussing right now, first and foremost, the pay. Of course, it's somewhere between $80,000 to $200,000 per year outside of India. But the best part is that everything is remote. Most of the times, you won't be working with a lot of Indian firms, but that doesn't mean that Indian firms do not have capital. There are a lot of Indian projects also that have really good budgets and really good teams that are looking for talent at all times. Then, apart from that, you move faster than the rest of the world. You don't miss out on your Bitcoin moment. Now, the Bitcoin moment is basically the moment when Bitcoin was originally for $100. And as of today, I think it's $16,000. And I think its last all time high was somewhere near $26,000. Which again, if you're buying something for 100 and it's given you a profit revenue of almost 25x, then it's always like a really good idea to be a part of that and to make sure that you don't miss out on your moment. Then the success of the project is in the hands of the community. We call it WAGMI. Does anybody know what WAGMI stands for? Right, so WAGMI just stands for we're all going to make it. So this again is really good because what you're doing is you're kind of giving people the power, their power back. It's like saying that it's not just the top brass that's going to decide everything that's going to happen. By the end of the day, every member of the community is going to be responsible for the growth of a particular project. Then another thing is that when the youth grows, the country grows. I personally believe that because I do believe that the youth is basically the entire workforce and the economy of the country. And sometimes I think it's okay that if you're sitting for 6 hours watching a cricket match, yeah, maybe that's fine. But at the same time, if you're sitting for 6 hours and working, trying to understand a new technology because you want to try to advance it more, I feel like that can be such a big perk to someone who's just starting off in the field. Then you can also choose from thousands of career paths, from project development roles to subway employees in the metaverse. As I told you, a friend of mine is an employee in the Tim Hortons. So every day he sits on his computer and he goes to Tim Hortons inside Decentraland on his computer, and that's his job. And I think he gets paid like $60,000 for that. So yeah, and actually, a normal Tim Hortons employee also doesn't get paid that much. So yeah. Now, so we just talk about, what we mean when we talk of a digital asset that is declared on the blockchain, apart from anything else that we see on the internet. So this is actually the first tweet that was ever tweeted, and by Jack Dorsey. And on March 22nd, 2021, he actually sold the tweet to someone in Malaysia for almost $3 million, which is around about 23 crore in INR. Now, what exactly does it mean to sell a tweet? And how can a tweet that I have tweeted, I can sell to someone else, right? So this doesn't actually mean that if tomorrow, if I were to sell my tweet to someone else, that does not mean that someone else will be the person who tweeted it out. It just means that I am the creator, and tomorrow the ownership of the tweet is being passed on to someone else. That means if they decide, whatever they decide to do with that tweet, I do not have any authority over it anymore because I've already sold it. Now let's talk about data conversion to asset. Now, what does this actually mean? A lot of us use Google Images all the time, and I know that most of the time when you are going on Google and you're just typing something like, you know, a blue-tailed dachshund or something like that, you'll see many pictures of a dog. But it's very easy for us to do like a right click and save image as or something like that. So that is what we call digital data. It's accessible to everyone. It doesn't have any one authority as such, but by the end of the day, it's something that almost anyone and everyone can own because it's a free data, or as we like to call it. But let's say that if I were to take that picture and declare it on chain, where I say on a public record, where I say this digital data is being declared on this public ledger under my ownership. So, what we're basically doing is we're converting that data into an asset. So, when we talk about this digital data, we're talking about the data that we want to turn into an asset. Then we talk about declared. Declaring means what we call minting on a particular blockchain. And when we say this public ledger, we just mean which blockchain are we using? Do we want to use the Bitcoin blockchain? Do we want to use the Ethereum blockchain, Polygon, Solana? Almost every day we have new stuff coming up, and that actually makes me feel more confident in the space because a lot of people want to kind of help the space grow. And when I say under my ownership, that means that I'm declaring myself as the authority of that particular asset on that particular blockchain. Then we have something called the validation process, where what happens is that the data is actually being validated on the particular blockchain. Is this a valid asset on the blockchain? Is this an asset that the blockchain can uphold? Is this an asset that actually is owned by this authority? Is this an asset that can actually be declared as an asset because it does not belong to somebody else? Now, this is where we again start to give the power back to the people because we have a consensus based mechanism. It's kind of like only if you have the majority vote will you actually have the validation. And all of this is completely unbiased because most of the validators that are validating the data, they're not biased. They're completely unbiased because they're all computers. And as we all know, computers and machines are completely unbiased. So now only you can own that piece of digital data, which is now asset, and you can do whatever you want with it. And something that is very common is that you can actually assign a monetary value to it if you want it. Something very similar that happens to Bitcoin, right? So let's say that I declared something called a token, which is just some form of data in a particular blockchain, which becomes an asset. And then tomorrow I say, I want to give this asset a value of $100. But what happens after a while, after almost 15 years, is that there are people who the demand of this bitcoin has become so high that almost everybody wants it. Because the demand has become so high and the supply continues to decrease, we are on a limited supply with most digital assets. So because the demand is increasing and the supply obviously is decreasing, because most people are owning it and minting it and they're mining it and stuff like that. So what happens is that automatically the value of the asset is increasing because there is such high demand for it. Which is why something that I might have assigned a monetary value of $100 to today sits at $16,000 because it has so much demand. And why would it have so much demand? The biggest thing that, uh, you know, actually comes when we talk of demand of digital assets is utility. Now, when I say utility, I don't mean that what exactly can this digital asset do for you. It can also be what this digital asset might do for you in the next 10 years or in the next 20 years. Now, this is a very common question that I get, that, like, how do NFTs and digital assets actually have utility? So I'm going to tell you something really fun. Now, there are a lot of places in the world now, like El Salvador, a lot of places in UAE that actually allow you to pay completely in Bitcoin. So you can buy a house where most of the payment you can do in Bitcoin. So what happens, the utility that comes over there is that you have a decentralized token that is not mandated by any government, that is still being accepted by some government. That itself is a utility. That means tomorrow, if I want to buy a house in Dubai, I want to put a down payment of so and so much and so, I don't actually have to involve the Indian government in it whatsoever. I can just pay from my wallet in Bitcoin, and the UAE government is going to accept it. So that for me is a very big utility, because governments are always a hassle. So. Right. So, what all can you do to this asset? So, let's say that you have an asset with its unique identity. Okay, that means there's only one version of the asset that exists. Then, apart from that, what you can also do is you can make multiple copies of the same asset, and it'll have the same properties. All of it will have the same metadata. So, what I'm trying to kind of distinguish over here is the difference between an NFT and a cryptocurrency. A cryptocurrency, there can be many of the same kind. But what happens in a cryptocurrency is that the Bitcoin that I own and the Bitcoin that someone else owns is the exact same. It is the exact same properties, the exact same metadata, the exact same functionality, and the exact same real world value that we assign to it because of its same properties. That means tomorrow, if the Bitcoin goes to $20,000 or to $30,000 or to $100,000, if I'm selling my Bitcoin for 100,000, then somebody else will also be doing the same. But when we come to NFTs or non fungible tokens, non fungible means immutable, cannot be changed. When we talk about non fungible tokens, because there's only one version of the asset that exists, the properties are unique, which is why the real world value may not be the same. The same goes for, as we talk, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? So, about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, many of you have heard that, oh, Paris Hilton bought her NFT for this much, and Justin Bieber bought her NFT for this much. But there were also some people that bought their Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs for almost as less as $600 or $500, right? But at the same time, there's somebody buying the same NFT for what, 1.8 million or something like that. So, because all of the properties are different, the real world value that is assigned to it is going to be different. But because they're all a part of the same collection, we might call it a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. And how many ever so it has, each of them is a unique NFT on its own with different properties, different values, different metadata, but it is still a part of the same club or community or whatever you want to call it. The difference between the cryptocurrency and NFT that we're talking about, I hope that it's a little more clear. We'll talk about this more in a bit. So let's talk about what is the actual point of cryptocurrency. So, put it simply, the main point of crypto is to actually fix the problems of traditional currencies by putting the power and the responsibility in the currency's holder. Let's actually, understand what this means. So first and foremost, cryptocurrency is owned by everyone. It's not There's no central body governing a cryptocurrency, which actually is the case with fiat currency. So when you talk of INR, do you know that the money that is in the bank, right? Whichever bank you are putting the money in India, it's not actually your money. Whenever you have any sort of INR with you, it is actually money that has been issued to you by the government, because all of this money belongs to the government. Another really fun fact that I'm going to throw towards you guys. Do you know that tomorrow, if I were to have, let's say, 1 crore in the bank, right? And the bank goes bankrupt, that means they literally don't have money to pay you back anymore, right? Do you know how much money you're actually going to get back if you give your money to a bank and the bank loses all its money? Right. So this is something that you sign when you actually join, open your account in the bank. And that is that you're going to get a compensation for about 1.5 lakh. That's it. So it doesn't matter how much money you had in your, bank account, you're going to get a compensation of 1.5 lakh, and that's pretty much it. So this actually makes you wonder that is the money that you put in the bank actually yours? And the actual answer is it's not. The money belongs to the government, the money belongs to the country that actually made the money, and which is why they have complete authority and control over it. Now, the good thing about cryptocurrency is that apart from completely being decentralized, it is not owned by anyone and is completely regulated on your own. Tomorrow, if you want to send, you know, a high amount of money to someone in the United States or in Europe, it might take almost, 2 to 7 business days to actually clear through. But if you do a cryptocurrency exchange, it'll happen in almost milliseconds. So not only do you have complete control of your money, but you also have complete control of your lifestyle in a way. So let's move on and let's just talk about like how cryptocurrency is just not possible to forge. So we'll talk about how the blockchain is such a beautiful technology that it literally can't be hacked. Now, why I call it the future is because of this. It was very difficult for us to actually, think of a technology that was very difficult to hack because almost everywhere you talk about Facebook, you talk about any, company, all of your user data is saved in a server somewhere. Now, if there is all of the data saved somewhere, that somewhere you know, becomes a compromise point where almost anyone who has the skill can hack that one server and get almost any data that they want. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, everything that is on chain belongs to the people themselves. It's not on a particular server. It's just on, it's an on chain data to the people themselves. There's no one server, there's no centralized server. So there's no really one place to hack into to try to get this. And to actually forge a blockchain, think about moving almost a million blocks after that, having the technology to do that, and also making sure that there is enough lag that nobody adds a new block in front. So it's like a crazy, crazy good technology which one cannot be hacked, and second, um, it's a very big advantage to us because we have now understood that there is a possibility of technology that allows more security to its users, that allows more security to its consumers, as well as the people who made the pseudo decentralized space. So we'll talk about this in a bit. I also have, I think, a bit of an animation that's going to help people understand better. So let's talk about how cryptocurrency transactions are mostly confidential. The best part about cryptocurrency transactions is that everything on the blockchain is a public ledger. That means it is out there and it's accessible for almost anyone and everyone to view. That means tomorrow, if I want to see the first that was the first tweet that was sold, I can go to the blockchain and I can see the transaction. But as you had seen in my slide, I had written to some Malaysian businessman. Now, what this tells me is that I know the origin of the receiver, but I don't know the name because it's a pseudo, anonymous like system where I can have all of my data under a pseudonym, under an anonymous name. But all of my activities have to be public. That means nobody needs to know my credentials, but people need to know like all of my work is decided by all of my credentials are decided by the proof of work that I put out there or the proof of history that I put out there. Right. So cryptocurrency security grows through time and value. The more people you have on a system, the better the consensus mechanism is going to be, the more secure it's going to be. The more the blocks are there, the more safe it's going to be, the more difficult it'll be to hack. So another important fact to actually remember for investors or users of newer cryptocurrencies whose networks haven't actually grown to a relatively significant size, the smaller the network, the more vulnerable it is to hacking, which means that if I have only 10 blocks in my blockchain, for a hacker, it might be very easy to shift 10 blocks. And if they have enough time where a new block isn't coming in, we still have enough time, to kind of have that. But if you have more than a million, more than a billion blocks, how are you possibly going to hack that? You'll need a very complicated set of supercomputers that we don't actually see coming till at least 2050 or 60. So we have actually a good 30 years to exploit this technology for our benefit before we can actually go forward with that. And goes without saying that if there are people trying to hack the technology, there'll always be a bigger community of people trying to protect the technology. That's almost always how it works. So an example of this almost happened to Bitcoin early on. There was a group called Bitfury that pulled together a very large number of supercomputers, and what they did was that they used a mining protocol to kind of try to hack the blockchain to show corrupt data. But now the Bitcoin network is so large. Almost every cryptocurrency network is so large that it's almost impossible to hack. Right. So, what is mining? Now, what happens is that let's say that I have my computer and I say, I'm going to leave my computer here. And tomorrow, if 10 computers are required to validate a particular transaction happening on the network, then I can have one of my computers be the validators. So, what happens is that every single time the consensus is giving an answer of maybe yes, and if my computer also gave the same answer, I get a little bit of reward saying that, okay, you lent me your computer, you lent me your energy. So, here is a reward for doing so, which is why I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of like Bitcoin mining farms, right? So you have these huge computers and servers and CPUs and GPUs that are running almost 24/7 and maximum capacity, taking in so much energy and so much power and bringing in an insane amount of revenue in Bitcoin as a reward. So it is a very good system, but I think that now it is very late for mining because if you actually start mining, you will probably not be able to get maybe $100 worth of Bitcoin mining over maybe 3 months or more than that, because now it's very common. And more than common, most of the validators that have bigger rigs, bigger farms, better supercomputers, they will be end up getting rewards first. So for us, if we just have like a Windows or a MacBook or something, it might not be as helpful. But for people who have like really big rigs, for them, yeah, maybe there still is an option. Instead of mining, I would suggest try to work on in the system itself because it has so much potential. And because of the potential it has a lot of money, it has a lot of capital, and almost anybody is willing to onboard skill and try to pay them for the work that they're doing. Right. So moving on, let's just discuss the benefits of digital assets. So first and foremost, you have lower transfer fees. This is something that we'll discuss later as well. Second, you have high security, as I discussed. Third, rapid transactions, almost in milliseconds or seconds. Nothing more than that. You'll never see a transaction waiting for a day. But with the bank, that would happen, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, the bank is shut now. It's after 6 p.m., so the bank is shut. So my transaction is not going to go through unless it's an IMPS. But if it's an NFT transaction, then it might, any FT transaction, then it might take a little while. Now, apart from that, we also have new market opportunities that we had discussed. Now, these are some of the companies that are actually expanding into Web3. So, does anybody know like which companies these are? Does anybody know which company this is? So, this
I
is
think
Adidas.
Adidas. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Adidas. I'm sure you all know what this is.
This is, I think, Love it.
Sorry?
Yeah, M Love it.
No, this is McDonald's.
Okay. Sorry.
Fun, right? No issues.
Yeah,
There are
it's
no
okay.
wrong answers here. Come on. I'm
Yeah,
happy
okay.
that at least someone is answering. And that's NBA. Everybody knows Lamborghini, of course. People know Louis Vuitton, then Ray-Ban, Coca-Cola, my favorite brand of all time, and of course, our one and only favorite brand. Everybody knows this, right? We are on a GDSC call right now, so everybody knows Google. So, Google, as we know, Google has integrated with Solana recently, and they are building something absolutely gorgeous when it comes to Web3. They are trying to bring so many web people onto Web3 right now. And that puts a lot of faith, confidence in the space, because even if a company like Google, which has almost ever made any wrong decisions in their corporate lifetime, And companies like Coca-Cola, Lamborghini, NBA, Ray-Ban, Nike, Samsung, Louis Vuitton, and Adidas. Now, if all of these companies that have not only had very good runs in their own time in Web 2, if they are expanding into Web 3, then that means they also see some market potential in Web 3. So for us, we have to kind of have to learn from these companies and understand, okay, if these big tech giants and these big retail giants are trying to move into Web 3, should we also? The answer is maybe. I don't think it's a bad idea to try whatsoever. Worst case, if you don't like it, go back to what you were doing before. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But most of the people that I have tried to help onto Web3, they've absolutely enjoyed the space, including myself. I would never go back to Web 2 because I love Web 3 and I love NFTs and I love cryptocurrency. Even though we're in a horrible, horrible bear market right now, which is going to go at least for another year and a half. But you know, I'm still a prime promoter and supporter, and I'll continue to do so because I believe in the technology before and everything else after. Right. So this is about like alpha attitude and how you can create an alpha environment and attitude towards your work and why it's essential. So a little something that I personally really like is tomorrow if you were to sit for a job recruitment and the recruiters are asking you a bunch of questions, if you show confidence at the same time, humility at the same time, you have that thirst for trying to learn more. You have to understand Web3 is a very, very new space, right? Because it's a very new space, there are barely any people that know everything about it. Every single day we have new stuff coming up. So it's very difficult to keep up. Which is why for us it's more important that people who are coming onto this space, they are open and willing to learn more about the space. The more you learn, the more you can help us understand vulnerabilities, and the more you can work on those vulnerabilities and help us grow. So when I say alpha attitude, the word alpha basically just denotes like the first of a series of an item or categories. Now, alpha attitude does not equate to being dominant or being bossy. An alpha will always set their priorities right. This enters the no excuses zone, which is kind of like, you know what? Most of the people that I talk, and I tell them that, oh, why don't you enter this space? And it always becomes, oh, I don't want to learn this language. Oh, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about NFT. So it's okay. You can always learn, right? So that's the kind of attitude that you kind of need for Web3, at least I feel so. And lazy and fear are for the weak, which means that, you can always party tomorrow and sleep tomorrow. Today, let's work. And today, let's see how we can better ourselves. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Respecting someone else's time and work is actually very cool. And you'll also be equally respected because if you're respecting somebody else's time, it doesn't matter if they work under you or above you, it's always going to help benefit you. And, even as on an individual level. So don't lose your drive because of a thirst for money. I know that Web3 is a space that offers a lot of money, but in that, strive for money, don't lose your thirst for wanting to become a better developer or better entrepreneur or, something like that. So don't look for instant gratification. Rome wasn't built in a day. So make sure that you give yourself enough time to grow. Then humility goes a long way. Always remember that tomorrow, if the world runs out of water, even gold will have no value. Okay. So these are a bunch of mottos that I used to tell myself when I first started. I still tell myself them, and I tell them to almost anyone and everyone that I've spoken to, that I speak to, because I do feel that being motivated is very, very important. It's very easy to be demotivated because there you'll come across 100 people that will say, oh, cryptocurrency is a scam. Most of the parents and especially like Indian households, they'll tell you, oh, like this doesn't work like this doesn't work like that. But it's only if you give it a try will you understand if things work or not, right? So these are some of my favorite. Feel free to take a screenshot. I'll also be more than comfortable in sharing this presentation with the Google developer students community once the talk is over. So let's actually move on to the next aspect of let's actually move on to the next aspect where we'll talk about the blockchain in itself. And Right. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for like 2 minutes. I'll just move on to the next slide. And let's talk about a little more about blockchains and, the technology in itself, like a little more deep dive on the, what do you call, the technical aspect of it. Yeah, the aspect of it. Right. So I hope that my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, ma'am, it's visible.
Oh, it's visible, right? Okay. Awesome. Okay. So now our learning checklist for this time is that we're going to talk about what exactly Web 3.0 is, because I've said it so many times and I've realized that there is a bit of confusion still to understand what the new layer means. We talk about decentralized finance and we talk about smart contracts. Okay, so first and foremost, we talk about what Web 3.0 is exactly. To understand what Web 3.0 is, we have to understand what the first two layers of the web are. So I'm pretty sure that the image that is shown over here, it's pretty easy to read, which says that first, when we would go to the any you know um, web page, you'd have an option where it says log in or sign up, right? That those would be the only two options: log in or sign up, where either you can sign up with your own username and password, and then you can create your own profile and things like that. So, this is what we talk about the Web 1, where everything had to be completely manually done. Then, if you talk about Web 2, we have a lot more integrations coming in where, apart from login and sign up with a username and password, you also are kind of giving authority to a third party application to allow them to sign in instead of you for more security. That means that you can say a sign in with Google or sign in with Twitter, or sign in with Facebook. You also have sign in with Reddit and LinkedIn and um, Stack Overflow, GitHub. You have sign in from a lot of other third party applications. So, what actually is happening in that situation is that Google is saying that I trust this website enough to sign in from your profile through my application, and anything that is insecure in this website, I am going to be taking care of. So again, I feel like it is a very very good thing to have, because by the end of the day, it's kind of like you might be giving your authority to someone else, but it is still more secure. Then it comes to Web 3, where you don't have a sign in option at all, where your profile already exists with yourself. It's not something that you have to declare somewhere else. So, but when you come to the website, it'll just say something like connect wallet. Now, I'm pretty sure you all have seen something like this in OpenSea, right? And Magic Eden, a lot of secondary marketplaces, where what you do is that your entire persona, your entire personality, your entire credentials and profile is decided none other by your public wallet address and nothing else. That means all of your activity will be visible by your particular credentials of the wallet, but your credentials itself, that means your name, where you live, your PAN card number, your social security number, and all that stuff, all of that stuff is not needed by the website at all. So it's kind of like ensures that people don't actually misuse the information. The website is not misusing any information that it is provided with. Now, if you talk about Web 1, this is a very, very old image of the first Apple website, very primitive. And Web 1.0 is actually what internet was at its advent, like in the beginning, somewhere between 1989 and 2005. So you have static web pages, very primitive manual updates. Nothing is automated. It's just view only. You can just click from here to there, from hyperlinks to other hyperlinks. You can't actually subscribe anywhere. You can't have your own profile or anything like that. It's just that very primitive web pages of just HTML, ASP, PHP, JSP, and stuff like that. So at this point, web browsers were still evolving. At maximum, you'd find something like a search bar over here, right? You can see like find it or something like that. Maximum, you'd find something like a search bar, but nothing else. Then we come to Web 2.0, which is like 2005 to now. We are still live in Web 2.0, right? So people say that you actually shift from Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. It's not actually a shift, because when we talk of Web 3, it incorporates all Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 itself. When you talk of Web 2, incorporates Web 2, Web 1, and Web 2, because these are just layers of in the internet. It's not a different version of the internet. They're just layers on top of each other. So Web 2.0 is more dynamic, it's a more social web. You can have your own profile, your own personalized dashboards. You can have your own persona where you're tweeting as yourself or where you're posting as yourself. You can have search bars, you can have subscribe options, you can have chat options with other people, you can join communities, there can be marketplaces, you can have apps that you can download from app stores, referral, subscriptions, social media, browsers that start agreeing on same standards and stuff like that. This, on a web point of view, moves on to your HTML5, right? The really cool HTML that we call your all of your CSS, your JavaScript, on all of your native frameworks that till date are used in most front-end applications, even in Web 3.0. Then we have something called cookies. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of cookies. Any website that you go to, it'll give you an option of either accept all cookies or manage it. How often do you come across an option that says reject the cookies? Almost never, right? Yeah, that is because they might say it's better user experience. I say it's giving the data to the people that need it. Okay, so it's kind of like cookies is what came for better user experience, where you would kind of allow your data to be fetched by these crawlers, and these crawlers instead would try to help you find the things that you need. So this means that tomorrow, if I want to buy a pair of Nike shoes, I can go to my tab and type Nike shoes. But by the night, if I'm actually scrolling in my Instagram or scrolling on another site somewhere, the first ad that you'll see would be of Nike shoes on the first search engine. That will be Amazon or Myntra. So it's very funny that the only people that are benefiting off of this are the people who already don't need to benefit off of this, like Amazon, right? So something very funny that actually happened with me. So I'll tell you that I actually wanted to buy this pair of Mark and Mark heels that it's like this luxury brand that has these Swarovskis on the heels, etc. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen it. They're these really famous, like they have these two bows around the things and stuff like that. So I used to Google like Mark and where I can procure it from, because in India it's not very easy to get. And these are shoes that you have to order on. You have to be a part of a wait list, and then you get the shoe after an order, because it's completely custom made according to your shoe size and foot shape. So what happened is that when I used to Google all of this to try to understand how I can get it shipped from the States to over here, most of the target ads that I would get after accepting cookies in most of the places would be of dupes of these Mark and Mark heels, not of the original, but of the dupe. So basically, what they're asking me is to, you know, uh, kind of violate the originality of the original artist or the original maker of the shoe and give the credit to someone else. So that's not right, right? Because by the end of the day, if a design belongs to someone else and a third person is benefiting off of it, just because they are mass producing it in Bangladesh somewhere in very low prices, marking them up at 10x and then shipping them throughout the world, cheap quality products, not leather, everything is PVC or glue, then it's kind of, not only are you kind of going against the artist and the original creator of the work, but you are also in a way being in a part of fast fashion that is actually ruining the entire industry altogether. So for me, on a personal level, I don't like cookies too much. I feel like my privacy is always violated, which is why I like Web 3.0, because there's actually no concept of cookies in Web 3.0. They have no way of knowing that you viewed something, some wallet viewed something somewhere. So this wallet should get these many ads. Like they have no way of actually judging that whatsoever. So I like Web 3.0, that's why. Now, Web 3.0 once on Ubiquity. On the right, I have put a picture of Magic Eden, which is a secondary marketplace for Solana as well as Ethereum and Polygon NFTs now. So it is a very semantic web. It's a very intelligent web. It's completely transparent, decentralized, right? all authority belongs to the person who is taking part in the place. Everything is so high quality content, it's so spatial. Most of the things that you'll see will be like 3D graphics. Then we have some of the best things that come in, which is the D apps, the DAOs. The D apps are the decentralized apps, DAOs are the decentralized autonomous organizations. We talk about them a little more later. And of course, your privacy is restored because all of the authority belongs to you and not to some central server that is going to make sure that you see a particular ad or you see a particular NFT that they want you to buy. You get to decide which NFT you want to see, and you get to decide which digital asset you want to invest into. Nobody can push you in that. I mean, of course, it goes without saying that there still is a lot of influencer marketing and celebrity marketing where Ranveer Singh will tell you to join CoinSwitch, Kuber, and to start trading. But again, I would say do your own research. This is a very volatile space that has, because there is no regulatory body, everybody has to practice self regulation. That means that tomorrow, just because Ranveer Singh is telling you to buy something, don't do it. Do it because you feel like you can see some utility in it. You feel like you can see that this thing can actually go higher than what it is of today, and tomorrow that there is more build possible on this particular place. Now, fiat currency and cryptocurrency, I think we've already discussed this. These are just tiny animations that are used to help people, understand. And then this kind of like the animation would stay in your head and then you'd be more comfortable, moving on. So, of course, fiat currency is issued by a central body, by a government. Cryptocurrency belongs to everyone. It is completely decentralized and distributed. Fiat currency, it's all fiat currency goes through an intermediary body such as a bank or a payment provider or something like that for a transaction. Whereas cryptocurrency completely works on a peer-to-peer network. There are no intermediary bodies required at all. Only the signature of the authority is required. Fiat currency depends on local and international transactions, which may take days because it completely depends on another body that's doing your work. Cryptocurrency, it depends on the network speed. If the network is more scalable, then it'll be faster. Transactions can take at maximum minutes, but usually it's milliseconds and seconds. Fiat currency is actually owned by a central bank and it is governed by a central bank. Tomorrow, if the bank doesn't allow you to send money somewhere, you can't do it. But cryptocurrency completely depends on the network consensus rule, giving the power back to its people. Now, let's talk about decentralized finance. Now, decentralized. Now, I have this, little image over here that just talks about how centralized finance works. That means if A wants to send something to B, they have to send it to the middle body. Like it'll be like AOB. And if B wants to send it to C, it'll be AOB, BOC. Whereas in a decentralized space, if A wants to send it to B and then B wants to send it to B, it'll just be ABC. So the O is completely the original, the um, central body is completely eliminated, which is why you have more power to the people and less power to a third, party application. So DeFi is open. The best thing is tomorrow, if I want to start a bank account, I have to go to the bank and register. I need to give all my credentials. I need to prove that I'm a real person that exists, right? But with decentralized finance, I literally just need to open a tab, type, create a wallet on MetaMask, create a wallet on Phantom, enter, create my wallet in less than a minute, and I'm already a part of the decentralized finance system. Very cool, right? I mean, it's completely transparent. The markets are always open. You don't have any concept of markets opening on a Monday and shutting on a Friday because a secondary marketplace in a decentralized system will always be open because it runs on the internet. As long as the internet is alive, your decentralized finance marketplaces are alive. Then now let's talk about the blockchain technology part of it. Now, as it goes with the word, very self-explanatory, it says a chain of blocks. Blockchain, a chain of blocks, not Lego blocks. And these are not actually real blocks that are there somewhere. It's just that I try to imagine them as blocks because it's just easier to understand the technology that way, right? So let's say that we have a single block, right? So this block will have um, three properties basically, because a blockchain is basically a type of a data structure. So this data structure is made up of an ordered backlink list of blocks of transactions. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are developers, so you all would know what ordered and backlinked list means. So if anybody wants to answer, then please feel free to answer. Otherwise, I'll give the answer. Anyone at all. Okay, no issues. So order just means one after another. It's not branching out into many, it's branching out into a linear. And backlinked list means that the block will be linked to the block behind it and not to the block ahead of it. Now, why is that the case? It goes without saying, the last block to be added, that means every single time data is being added to a blockchain right now, will be in the beginning, right? Now, in the beginning, if it has to be attached to something at the back as well as from the front, then how will the last block be attached to something from the front? There is no front to be attached to, right? That's why it works on backlinked list tech. Now, a block will basically have the data, its own data. That means it could be anything. It could be a cryptocurrency, it could be an NFT, it could have an image, it could have a video, it could have a real world value to it, it could have anything whatsoever. Then it'll have its hash, which is basically its identity. Okay. Its unique identity, its number, its hash. And it'll have the hash of the previous block. That means the block which it is attached to. So if we were to actually move on, when we make this chain of blocks, it's like saying each block is kind of pointing to the block before it, right? So over here we have this hash, and the previous hash of this block is 0, which means that this is the genesis block. It's the first block. There's nothing that comes after it, before it. Then you talk about the next block. Its hash is this, and its previous hash is pointing to the genesis block. The same way you can imagine a lot of blocks like this, where the block of a hash is pointing to the previous, to the block of to the hash of the previous block. Then key features, we'll discuss them in like skim material, where we'll talk about how a blockchain is a shared, immutable public ledger. Shared means everyone has access to it. Immutable means cannot be changed. Public means always available. And that facilitates the process of recording transactions. Recording means as soon as it is printed over there, after that, it doesn't matter what you do, it cannot be changed. So, right. So I'm going to make sure that I share this with you, but I also have like a more detailed version of this. I think it's better that we just go through that. Now, the type of encryption of a wallet that uses a public and private key is called an asymmetric encryption. Now, this allows an owner to create data on the blockchain and for participants to view this data. A distributed ledger, how do we actually achieve that? So, what will happen is that one, you'll have a public key. The public key is basically just your wallet address. Okay. And the public key is actually how people find you and how you actually decrypt data that is coming to you. A private key is what you get, which is only specific to you, and you are not allowed to share that with anyone and not allowed to give it to anyone, to such an extent that there's not even a server where your private key is saved. Now, your private key is actually what allows you to encrypt the data to send it in a blockchain. It's like saying that tomorrow, if I want to send a letter, right, if I write it in English, anybody in the middle can actually open it and see what the letter says, right? But if I encrypt it in such a way that only me and the person who's receiving the letter can read it, then it's kind of like it's completely secure. It doesn't matter if somebody else even opens the letter, nobody will have any data from it. So that's why we use private keys and public keys, and this key pair is actually what is making most of the blockchain technology. Then an immutable record, how do we actually achieve that? You can't actually tamper with any blocks, because as soon as data or content of a block is changed, it receives a new hash altogether. So it's like saying that, for example, we have the same thing that we had the last time, right? And if I were to try to corrupt the data in this block number 2, what will happen is that it's going to get a new hash. So it won't actually be a part of the blockchain anywhere. So it's just not possible. It's like that. Then smart contracts, how do they speed speed transactions. So very easy with what a smart contract is. It's kind of just like a set of rules. Now you have to understand that every time I'm sending a transaction to someone, it's just a bunch of computers that have a bit of rules in them. That's they're asking those rules to each other and making sure that the transaction is approved. There is no manual labor attached to this whatsoever. So it's like saying tomorrow, if I were to send money to Gotham, right? If I were to send a Bitcoin to Gotham, so this computer or this set of rules that is going to dictate whether this transaction will happen or not will ask very basic questions. Does Bahu have this much Bitcoin to send plus gas fee? Yes. Does Bahu's wallet actually exist? Yes. Does the person who is receiving this, does Gautam's address actually exist? Yes. Does Gautam have enough rent and storage to store this kind of data that is going to be coming to him? Yes. Now, if all of these prerequisites are kind of matched, then what happens is that the consensus approves the transaction, and within seconds, the computer does for you what manual labor would take more than 24 hours to complete. So a smart contract is basically like, because there is so much like logging, there are so many people doing this. So if one computer is handling so many transactions, it's going to get queued up very quickly. So a smart contract, what it'll do is that it's going to ensure that most of the transactions that are coming in are happening parallelly in such a beautiful way that there is no lag whatsoever. You try to speed up the process by using these if and when and then type of statements to actually speed up these transactions. So the more smart contracts you have, the more speedy the system will be. The more speedy the system is, the more secure it is, the more trusted it is. The more trusted it is, the more people come on. It's actually a very good cycle of ensuring that there is enough security for everybody that is involved in the system. Now, greater trust. How do we have greater trust? Now, having a peer to peer network to perform tasks help build greater trust as only two parties of buyer and seller are involved. Of course, self regulation is something that you have to kind of partake in as courtesy to the community. No one, not even a system admin, can manipulate a transaction. So, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but tomorrow, if you were to open a wallet in MetaMask or Phantom and you forget your private key, you're supposed to write a set of those 12 and 24 words that come out. So let's say that you forget that private key. And after I forget this private key, I start contacting all of my contacts in MetaMask. Say, hey, I forgot my private key. I have a lot of digital assets in this wallet and I really need to retrieve them. Now, those people are going to say, hey, we are not a centralized server. We have no idea what your key is. We don't store it anywhere. And we also give this notification when you are making the wallet. So even a system admin cannot actually manipulate a transaction or cannot actually, empty out a wallet. It completely works on a consensus basis. So yeah, again, much greater trust, right? Because there's no central body that can govern your assets. Right, so this is like a doubt board. I think I'm just gonna take like a short break. If there are any questions, probably we can answer them and things like that. Apart from that, I think we do have maybe just like dApps and DAOs, and make sure to share all of this with the team so that they can share it with you. And I think it'll be easier for you to kind of go through with this. Then non-fungible token, I think almost everyone has heard of. Gotham, how much time do we have for the session?
Actually, we have planned up to 6, but so I can extend up to whatever you need.
Sorry, your voice got cut.
So actually, we have planned up to 6. So we can
Oh,
have
okay.
up
So,
to 6:30. Okay,
oh no,
then
I
no
think if you're
worries.
already running late, let's just like leave 20 minutes for doubts. And
Yeah, okay
I'll
then,
share
sure.
these with you guys along. I also have some pre-recorded videos that I can probably share, you know. So, okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen now. Okay. Right, so let's just like open the floor to just like questions and anything that's there. Where should I see where can I see the questions? Okay. The e-currency that government just
That's
introduced is using blockchain or some other. Actually, it's very silly to actually understand something like this, because and it's very silly of the government to even do something like that, because you can't have a cryptocurrency that's mandated by a central body. That completely destroys the concept of cryptocurrency or for decentralized currency. So when the Indian government is talking about bringing an e-currency, they basically want to have a pseudo decentralized system where it's not actually cryptocurrency, it's just like a digital currency. It is mandated by a central body. It's not decentralized. It is completely centralized, but it is digital. That's just to ensure that, it's going to be like the rupee itself, but completely digital. Very similar to how you use Google Pay or Paytm to do your transactions. It won't be decentralized. It won't be using a blockchain. It'll be just like a digital currency. It's not a cryptocurrency. So, whether using cryptocurrency provides better privacy than our traditional banking system. Right. So, you don't actually have any privacy when it comes to the traditional banking system. All of your data is stored on a server somewhere with the bank, which is actually mandated by a government, which means government actually has all of your details, all of your transactional values, where your money is coming from, where it is going, and things like that. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, it is completely transparent in the sense that all of your activity tomorrow, if I'm to send any sort of digital asset to anyone, they will know that there is somebody somewhere who has sent this asset to this place and things like that. But they will actually not be able to say who I am till the time I don't actually declare that. So it is better privacy in the sense that because you have complete control of your stuff, it would be more private, but it is publicly accessible to almost anyone who is a part of the ledger or anybody who can access the ledger, which is everyone. So your credentials are completely private, your activity is not. Whereas when it comes to banking systems, your credentials and your activity, neither of them are private. They might not be accessible to anyone and everyone, but they are still accessible to people who can very, very easily exploit them. Okay, if it has transaction fees, then it is very hard to switch the users from online transactions to Bitcoin or crypto or Eh, okay. Right. So I completely understand that skepticism. So it's very similar to how there was skepticism when the banking systems first came, right? Because in the beginning, you would just have your barter system, your resources, which you would exchange for other resources. It's like saying, I'll give you this much wheat and I want this much rice instead of it, right? So when the banking system first came, people would approach the bank and they would say, why should we give you all our money and pay a monthly fee for keeping all of our money and taking care of our transactions? Right? In the beginning, that skepticism was there. But as of today, nobody feels skeptic about doing anything from a bank. You're more than happy to do it, from a bank than to do it yourself. So it's kind of like we are very new to the system right now. uh, we actually, as developers, it is our role to understand how we can decrease the gas fee that is actually being used. So it's like saying, most of the times, if you send an international transaction, there are conversion fees, right? From USD to INR. Apart from the exact conversion, you will also pay an over and above transaction fee. But when it comes to digital currency, there's no conversion fee. There's only exact transaction conversion, which means that this much Bitcoin is equal to this much USD, which is why this much USD is equal to this much Ethereum. If I were to convert from Bitcoin to Ethereum, I won't have to pay extra Ethereum just because there is someone converting it for me, because it's just being done by the computer. Instead, I'm paying a very, very small transaction fee or gas fee, as we like to call it, to the computer because it is using some form of energy to do my transaction. So what we're doing is that we're actually cutting the labor over there and we are paying for energy instead. And which honestly, in my personal opinion, I feel like it is a much better bet than, um, you know, giving my money to a bank and waiting for them to give it to other people on crazy high interest rates while giving me almost nothing in return. So yeah. Okay, does AI play any role in the blockchain? Yeah, it does. So in a way, you can say that blockchain is an AI on its own, because most of the transactions are being done by a blockchain completely on its own. It is like automated, not autonomous completely. Autonomous is very idealistic still, but automated in the sense that if I want to do a transaction, there will be a computer with a set of with an algorithm, a contract, or just a program, that's going to be doing all my work. So there are also many programs, we call it like uh, macro programming, macro contracts. Okay, they're called program defined, like PDAs, right? So program derived algorithm. So it's kind of like a program that's writing another program that might write another program to ensure that work is being done. A common example of this is like escrow accounts. When you use secondary marketplaces, when you're actually selling your NFT to someone else, what the marketplace is doing is that it's going to declare an escrow account that's going to do all the checking for you with a smart contract of its own. And the smart contract is going to be the owner of the escrow account. So it's like saying the code will be the owner of an account, right? So that's, I think, where AI comes into partake, where the AI will say that, okay, if I am over here and this person, and like let's get Bahu and Gautam in again. So let's say Bahu wants to sell an NFT to Gautam for this much Ethereum. So what this escrow account, this piece of code will do is that it's going to take the assets from both parties, put it in the account, then it's going to cross check. Are these amounts equal? Is this the amount that was guaranteed? Is there enough gas fee to do this? Then it's going to switch, send it to its own owner, and that's actually how I would say that AI actually plays role in blockchain. And of course, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of like Chat GPT and stuff that has come out. um there is still so much potential. We just kind of need, like, bright minds like you guys to understand how we can better the community. Do you have any recommendations on best Web 3.0 frameworks like Truffle Framework? Okay, this might sound very wrong of me to say because FTX completely crashed, but I personally feel like the Anchor framework is such a beautiful framework to work on. It's literally like it's like Python coding, like you're just talking to the computer, like in English or something like that. It's very easy, and more than easy, it has very good scalability opportunities. There's a little bit of drawback that comes to it, which is why the only little drawback that comes to it is that you actually have to learn a new language to do an Anchor framework, which means you have to learn Rust. Now, Rust itself, it's a very primitive language, which is why it's a little difficult to learn. But because it's primitive, it is a very powerful language. And the more powerful a language is, the more growth potential it has when it comes to blockchain development. So, your layer one blockchains like Solana and Ethereum and stuff like that. For them, I feel like, personally, I feel like the Anchor framework is really good. And if anyone wants to, let's say, start getting into Solana development, I actually have a site for you. Wait, Gautam, can I share a resource site over here?
Yeah, sure, man.
Okay. Okay. So you can actually share this over here. I'm actually a tutor on this. So I don't handle the Rust side of it, but we have some very good modules where apart from just Rust and Solana development, we also do like market scheduling. We have experts from all over the world which talk about market trends, how to get into the space, how to better into the space, something as small as how to become an investor in the space and things like that. Gautam, maybe you can share. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So you can actually check this out. It's very easy. It's completely free. There's no fee whatsoever. We do this, it's completely non-profit thing. We just do this to try to get people, as many people recruited onto the Web 3.0 Solana ecosystem as we can. And Google happens to be a partner. So we're going to have a lot of recruitments for Google as well. Um, okay, how does one from a non-technical background enter Web3? What are the general requirements to make a living from this new tech? Okay, so Abhijit, why don't you just tell me like what do you do? What do you like to do? What kind of job were you looking for? Non-technical, anything at all. Right, so I think developer.
He needs to want to be a developer. Yeah.
Yeah, but developer is a tech background, right? No, tell me like if you're from a non-technical background, what is your non-technical background? Anything. You can literally say anything. Like, I mean, I've had like answers like, I want to be a professional ice cream taste tester or something like that, you know? Because this, as I told you, this happens to be a space you can literally make your own job profile and like you can make up an entire job. Okay, ceramic engineering. Wow, that's pretty cool. Um, you're from a ceramic background. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm not really that sure like what exactly what all opportunities are there in that. But something that I can definitely like suggest for you is that since you are someone who is maybe a little artistic and things like that, you can always join as an artist. You can always join as a consultant on people's boards where you say, okay, I'm going to try to help you to bring your aesthetic to life. Try to bring in such crazy 3D technology that it attracts consumers, right? So when you talk about the general requirements to make a living from Web3, there are no requirements. There are truly no requirements. It's like Web2. You can bring in almost any skill that's going to tomorrow help a community, help the technology, help its consumers, help its investors, and that can be its requirement on its own. If you are someone who likes to learn, likes to grow, likes to help with development of a place, be it business, be it technical, be it non-technical, be it graphics, be it uh, you know just anything at all. What can be the roadmap of a starter? So first and foremost, I would say try to learn about this space as much as you can. The more you learn about the space, the more you'll understand what you like about the space. Once you've understood what you like about the space, you can understand the companies that you like, the companies, the communities that you'd like to be a part of. And I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of Discord. Something really fun about Discord is you can join a community and literally contact the team and ask them, like, hey, I really like your project and I'm a starter and I really want to, understand how I can, join Web3. Is there any way that I can contribute to this project and start my career? I can give you this guarantee that 90% of the projects will be more than happy to try to onboard you into the space to try to help you find your actual identity in the place and to try to grow from there. So what you can do is, I would say, first try to self educate in the sense that you can watch YouTube videos, you can see how other people started their careers, you can get in touch with experts and stuff like that. You can ask them how they started their career. So I'll tell you like how I started my career. Okay, so I remember when I left my job at Google, I had a bit of money in my account. I emptied out my account to buy my new phone. After that, I had exactly 12,500 rupees left in my account. From that, I started from the 12,000 rupees. What I used to do was I basically coded some Python bots that would look for free mints happening on the Ethereum space. So it would scout the blockchain and some of the secondary marketplaces and tools like how rare and liquidity and things like that. It's going to like actually see which all free mints are coming, and then it'll let me know that these free mints are coming on these times. So what I would do is I would wait for the free mints. I would mint an NFT for free, and then I would automatically listed on the secondary marketplace at the floor price. So what I'm doing is that I'm buying an NFT for zero and I'm selling it for any profit that I'm getting, be it $1, be it $10, be it $1,000. So when I started doing this, I ended up, over the course of 2.5 months, I think I ended up generating a revenue just from free mints of more than $22,000, just from free mints. So what you need to do, kind of like what helped me at that point, was I found a vulnerability and I tried to exploit it. Today maybe there aren't too many free mints that are happening because of the market condition, but you can still have a lot of other places where you just need to find the vulnerability, gather a group of like people who can find this vulnerability and try to work on that. That's what I'm going to say. Right. So Girl Script Foundation is actually doing a roadmap for Web 3.0 starters, and you can join their program. 100%. I would say join like at least 200 communities. Gather as much information as you can from them. Show your interest in every community. Make sure that this interest is genuine. It's going to give you back. I mean, I feel like because I was very genuine about the space in the beginning, till date, it begins to like, provide a lot for me. I have not only people who are approaching me to try to help them out, but I have also have people who are trying to onboard me to try to help their project on a business point of view, to such an extent that I can today, I have equity in a few companies. So tomorrow, if I was to, let's say, get fired from all my jobs, I will still have good financial stability to start my own. So make sure that you just be open about it. And it's okay. If you don't know anything, you don't know. Just tell yourself, you don't know it, but I want to learn it. Have that. Okay, so ma'am hacker. Okay, please don't call me ma'am, guys. I'm not ma'am. You can call me Bahu. Is good. Uh, I'm probably younger than most of the people over here, so you don't have to call me ma'am. You can call me Bahu. That's my name, my title, my pronoun, my designation. Right. Hackers that play part in cryptocurrency. Right. So we have which language is blockchain using? So which blockchain are you talking about exactly? So Ethereum uses a language called Solidity. Solana uses Rust as well as Python. There is a Python protocol in Solana as well, and they are also coming up with a Java protocol in Solana. So you'll be able to, actually build in almost any language that you're comfortable with. And when it comes to front end, we still use the same your Node.js and React.js stuff for front end. Right. So coming back to the question where you're talking about hackers that are involved in cryptocurrency. So there are actually no hackers. It's basically like this, that tomorrow I will there are scammers. Scammers. Okay. So scammers kind of, they'll say something like, oh, I'm offering you a free mint. And what it will say is that the smart contract will kind of manipulate your wallet in such a way that it'll keep uh, recalculating the transaction that's coming out. So when it's recalculating the transaction, now me as a consumer, I feel, oh my God, it's a free mint and it's going to be sold out and I'll miss out on it and stuff. And without seeing the actual transaction and waiting for the wallet to evaluate it, I'll just say accept or sign or authorize or something like that. As soon as I do that, the entire smart contract will empty out my wallet. So that is only possible because the smart contract always had that protocol in it in the beginning, but it was kind of tricking you, the wallet, and the blockchain in such a way that it's like they're all like manually happened scams. The blockchain actually doesn't have any role to play in it. It's the hacker itself. So for us, it's important that one, we don't become the kind of developers that are scamming people, and second, we have to ensure that we educate as many people as possible so that they can also protect themselves from such scams. So yeah, are there any other questions?
Yeah, no, but there is a question in private, like Madhurendra Singh has asked a question. Can you please explain some live or suggest one good use case of blockchain except Bitcoin? So, any one interesting project that
Oh,
you have done?
So I actually, instead of discussing a project of mine, I'm going to discuss something even crazier with you guys. Okay. So everyone's heard of Walmart, right? Walmart. It's a very common company. Like it's basically just like a convenience store that offers everything. It's like an IKEA. So Walmart, for the longest time, they actually couldn't figure out why they were having so much losses, because there were consumers saying that their products and packages were damaged when it reached them, or some packages were just being lost in the middle, or there were cases where orders were literally not sent out, but confirmations were sent out to consumers. So what Walmart did is that they made their entire supply chain on a blockchain, which basically means that tomorrow, if there are five people in the supply chain, that means the seller, the contractor, the distributor, the logistics, and the buyer. So, what they would do is that they would say every time you receive the consignment, you have to update it on the blockchain. So, it's kind of like the entire supply chain was mandated on a blockchain. And on every checkpoint, you had to say what the situation of the package was, how you received it, how you were sending it out, and every single detail about it. So, what ended up happening is that everybody would be so conscious that, oh my God, now they know that at any point, which point exactly is lagging. And because of if tomorrow the consumer receives the product that is damaged, they will know at exactly which point it's going to be damaged. They ended up saving almost $6 billion worth of revenue just by onboarding their entire supply chain onto a blockchain. So I think that's very, very interesting in retail, because um, it's kind of like the what do you say? The technology is governing the manual labor and making sure that the manual labor is incentivized in such a way that they don't make any mistakes. Before, you would be very callous, oh, this product, I don't care, I'm going to send it further. Now it's like, oh my God, if the vulnerability is caught at my checkpoint, I'm screwed. So I have to be super careful, right? So it's crazy how I think it's a really fun use case of the blockchain, and it can definitely come for almost any retail industry, because if it can save that kind of revenue, it definitely has much more use cases than that. So I hope that was like a good use case that helped. Like, I mean, for me, it was like it opened my eyes when I got to know this. So yeah. Right. So any other questions that we have? Maybe we can wrap it up now since it's 6:30. I think that's pretty much it, right? Am I not audible? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
Okay. So thank you so much, you guys, and thank you so much
Thank you so
to.
Thank
much,
you
ma'am.
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, and thank you for all your
Yeah,
knowledge that
thank you
you
for
shared
speaking,
about
ma'am.
the
So we are
blockchain and
very
about
grateful for
different
your
types of
time
Google. And
and effort you took to
thanks a lot for clearing
so
our
that way we
queries,
can
ma'am.
build
Thanks a lot,
immunity
ma'am.
from the methods and all the advantages you have suggested. So thank you so much again for your contribution
Thank you
towards
so
this
much,
community,
Vishal. And
and see you
you
again
guys,
from
thank
this
you so
community.
much
Thank
for
you so
like
much.
GDC for planning something like this. And I would really, as just a fellow promoter of Web 3.0, I would say kudos for this. And also, please continue to, involve as many people as you can. Try to educate them about this place. And from me, you always have my contact. You can catch me on LinkedIn. I think I'll just share my link tree over here so that anybody who wants to get in touch with me for LinkedIn, if you have projects that you want funded, if you have projects that are looking for uh, developers or something like that, any questions that you have, feel free to ask me on my LinkedIn. I've sent my link tree. I think the
Yeah,
team
okay,
will
ma'am.
just forward it
Share
as
it.
well.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, feel free to do that. Like, I'm always here to help. And thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.